Story time about meeting my mom for the first time after being told she was dead my entire life. So as you could have probably guessed, I grew up with my dad, who I've always had a kind of rocky relationship with, mainly because for as long as I can remember, he's had a drinking problem. Whenever he drank, he would always do things out of spite, like locking me out of the house on purpose, yelling at me for trivial things, including looking like my mom, and even going so far as to not buy groceries or food for the house, which usually ended up with me staying at my best friend's house just to get the bare necessities. It got so bad that when I turned 14, my best friend's mom ended up getting a hold of my grandmother, and my grandmother came to take me away from him. She had no idea what was going on in our household and was horrified when she found out. While staying with my grandmother for a few months, my dad would sometimes make appearances, but my grandmother would never let him stay for too long. She made it very well known that she felt like he was incapable of properly taking care of me, and I didn't disagree with her. However, it wasn't until my grandmother and I got to talking that she revealed to me that she had been trying to locate and contact my mother for over 2 years, just to give her updates about my life and me. Now, the reason this was so shocking to me is because my father had been telling me for about 7 years that my mother was dead. In fact, I remember being 8 years old and asking him about her myself, and he immediately followed up with, and I quote, "She died and she did it to herself, if you catch my drift." I cried all night, and I never forgot that day. For reference, I am now 21, and it wasn't until I turned 15 that I finally met my mom and learned the real truth behind my existence, like for part 2. Now, before I go on, I feel the need to explain. As an adult who is going through their own healing process, I completely understand why my mom did the things she did, and I am happy that she's in a place where she's happy and she's doing right by the children that she currently has. With all that being said, when I finally met my mother, she was married and had 2 other children in which she was raising with her husband. Hearing this, I had second thoughts about meeting her, mainly because I was pissed. Mind you, I was a teenager with very little understanding about what was going on, but I ultimately agreed to meet her. After my grandmother set everything up, I showed up on her doorstep, ready to have a conversation. When she opened the door, she acted surprised to see me, giving me a fake Hallmark smile and basically saying, "You look great." I dismissed it and wanted to get straight to business. When she finally did get around to telling me the story, I listened. According to my mom, she had been in an abusive relationship with my father for years, and when she finally began slipping away from him, he attempted to force her to have a baby in order to keep her around. So when she did end up pregnant, she wanted to keep the baby away from him, but he would have been the more fit parent because she didn't have her own job and no real resources to take care of the child. So when she had me, she decided to renounce her rights and simply have no contact with me whatsoever. In her words, this was her way of breaking free of him. After she renounced her rights, she changed her name, moved to a new place, and basically started her life all over again. Now, again, as an adult, I can understand this, but at that moment I was livid, and you wouldn't believe how I blew up on her. As you could have guessed, I completely went off on her. It wasn't my intention to do so, but not only did she completely abandon me with someone she knew was an abuser, but she never thought to come back to check on me. Not to mention, with the looks of her house and her new family, she could have easily afforded to take me away from him, but none of that ever crossed her mind. So what was even the point of sitting down and having a conversation with her? She was only telling me things I already knew. I ended up storming out of there because she couldn't give me answers to the very logical questions that I was asking her. When I left, I felt like she wasted my time, and even more so, I was angry with myself for getting my hopes up thinking she was going to tell me something that was just life-changing. It was baffling to me that she was a disappointment as an abandoner and as a mom. Now, I know that's extreme, but it's how I felt. In the end, I came home to my grandmother and told her about the entire thing. My grandmother played devil's advocate, of course, but at the end of the day, we settled on the fact that it would not be beneficial for me to try to build a relationship with my mom. Or, well, I came to the realization that that wasn't what I wanted. Fast forward 7 months later. It's Christmas, and I get a call from my mom's new husband, and you'll never believe what he said.